In today's video, we're going to answer the age-old question, what the hell is a watt second and how many do I need? For those of you who have seen my videos before, welcome back to the channel. And for those of you who have never seen me before, if you could go ahead and hit subscribe and sign up for the bell. And if all of you could give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And now that life is starting to get back to normal, I'll be going to different cities across the United States, probably one per month, and teaching in-person workshops. So for more information about that, just go to johngress.com/workshops. And if you enjoy learning from me in these videos, you'll also probably like learning from me on my members-only website, The Academy with John Gress. The best feature as far as I'm concerned about the Academy are the frequent live Q&A sessions where members can ask me anything or ask me to critique their work in a live group setting. The other thing is that there are exclusive training videos that are a little bit longer than my YouTube videos, covering all sorts of topics, and you'll also get early access to my YouTube videos and discounts on my in-person workshops. So for more information about that, just go to johngress.com/academy. So whether you're brand new to using Flash or you've been doing it for a while, you're probably wondering, what are watt seconds and how many of them do I need? So not to get overly technical, but a watt second is a measurement of energy that you're putting in to the flash tube, or that's being discharged, I believe, in the burst. If I'm wrong, do not light me up in the comments. Well, you can if you want. What's more important is how many of them do I need? And this is going to vary a little bit from brand to brand, because the design of each flash or flash head or flash tube may change the overall efficiency of the light depending on the energy that's put into it. So I'm going to sort of give you some real world scenarios and ranges for watt seconds that you're probably going to want. So let's start off talking about using normal flash in the studio. A normal flash is when you're shooting at your flash's sync speed, which for most professional cameras is kind of around a 200th of a second, and most consumer cameras might be around a 60th or a 90th of a second. So this is just where your camera sends a signal to the flash and causes it to go off once, and that creates our picture. So when we're doing that and we're working in the studio, a lot of times we're going to be shooting around f8. And so in that scenario, if we're using a beauty dish or a harder reflector really up close to the person's face and we're shooting at that f-stop of f8, you're going to need between 20 and 40 watt seconds, depending on the exact distance, the size of the beauty dish, whether or not it's white or silver, but that should give you a pretty good range. Next are accent lights, like our kicker or our hair light. A kicker is also sometimes referred to as an edge light. We're going to want that to be somewhere between 50 and 150 watt seconds. Now this is depending on whether or not you're using a large strip box further away, or you're using a fairly small hair light versus a larger softbox back there. But that's going to be a pretty good number overall. Then if you're using a really large modifier like a 5 to 7 foot umbrella or a 5 to 6 foot octabox, you're going to want probably between about 250 and 1200 watt seconds in order to shoot at f8. And that's why we would get these, that's why they make those larger types of strobes, are for this sort of use, like where you're shooting a group portrait, or maybe you just love the gauziness that comes from a really large modifier close in. So just keep that in mind. But if you're working in the studio and shooting at, 1.4 or 2.8 or something, you're going to need a lot less power. But it's probably more important that you have the ability and the power within the flashes that you're using to be able to shoot at those higher f-stops if it's desired, because you can always turn the lights down usually and get the exposure that you need. Now, if you're shooting outdoors and you're shooting a group portrait on a sunny day, I found it really hard to use anything bigger than 3 feet of a modifier, because what usually happens then is that the modifier, larger modifier, will require a lot more light, and oftentimes you're just not going to have a battery powered light with you that can produce, let's say, 1200 watt seconds. So on a group portrait outside, I'll use around 500 watt seconds in a 3-foot modifier, or maybe I'll use a beauty dish or some similar sort of reflector in those outdoor situations. Also outdoors, when I'm shooting a person and it's just one person, I will get that modifier probably around a 3 to 5 foot softbox, and I'll get it, or umbrella, and I'll get it as close as I can to the person without it being in the shot. And in those instances, I'm probably going to need around 250 watt seconds with traditional flash. If you're outside and you're trying to use high-speed sync, and high-speed sync is where you cause your flash to pulse back to back a number of times so that it can match the opening and closing of your shutter from the top to bottom as that goes across your sensor. So the high-speed sync is great because you can shoot at any, you can kind of shoot at really high shutter speeds, like maybe a 2,000th to an 8,000th of a second, and you can shoot wide open. But each one of those pulses takes a lot of energy, and so you're probably going to need, let's say, between 125 and 500 watt seconds worth of power if you're using a 3 to 5 foot softbox really close in and you're just shooting one person. Now, if you're trying to get that light further away and maybe you're shooting multiple people, you're probably going to end up having to use a hard reflector or a smaller softbox, or maybe you're going to have to use 2 lights or a lot of power, because high-speed sync can really absorb a lot of light. And no matter what situation you're in, I think it's always better to have more power than you need, and then turn down the power to match your need in that incident, because you never know, or that instance, because you never know what life might throw at you on the next shoot. So I just think having that there is a good idea. Almost all of my strobes are 500 watt seconds. I have a couple that are 1200, but 500 is kind of my floor. You can, I do have one that's a little lower, but you just kind of I just kind of want to have the flexibility to do more with the lights when I need them. Anyway, guys, I hope that made sense. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. And as always, stay safe, call your mom, maybe even see her now that we're entering a new world. And I will talk to you soon.